Offense was booming this weekend. Arizona's pitching staff might just be in trouble a little bit. Fat threw the first ever yes hitter where he didn't record an out but allowed a bunch of runs. Cal Raleigh MVP talks. Is it too early for that? Justin will let us know in a little bit. The Brewers have won 7 in a row. The Mets are first place in the East. The Tigers are still tigering. We've got all that, team of the month, and more in this episode of Baseball Adjacent. I am Taco Josh. That right there is America's pitching coach. It is Justin Arth, live from Atlanta. And Justin, we have a big episode this week. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling great. It's time to recap the first true month of the season because I don't want to count April as a true month of the season. So we can finally see what these teams are. A lot of teams have put a bunch of stuff on paper. It's time for us to really dissect these things and get this thing started.
Yeah, we have. It's basically a monthly recap. If you lived under a rock for the last month, that's the way monthly recaps work. We'll get you up to speed here in however long this episode is. We're shooting for an hour. Maybe it'll be a little less. Maybe it'll be a little more. Editor Josh will let you know when I'm done editing all of this. I'm sure we have social media. All of that is down in the description. Follow us on Instagram. We post over there. Some Justin's personal stuff, if you're into quarterbacking, is in the description as well. Give us a like, subscribe, all the good stuff that a good YouTuber would say. Let's get right into the monthly recap. We're going to go AL first. We're just going to read off some records, where teams are in the division, and then we're just going. We're going to do winners and losers kind of tied into that. In first place, in the AL East, we have the New York Yankees. They went 17-9. The Blue Jays are in second place. They went 16-12, as did the Rays. In third place, the Red Sox went 11-17 in the month of May, and the O's went 9-18. In the Central, the Tigers remain the best team in baseball. They are 39-21 overall. They had a 19-9 month of May, improving actually on their April, which is hard to believe. The Guard Dogs are here. They went 14-13. The Twins are one of the best teams in baseball this month. They went 18-8. The Royals went 15-13. In last place, the White Sox had a pretty good month by their standards. They went 11-17. Out west, Seattle remains in first place in the West by half a game as we record this episode, but they went 13-14 in the month. The Astros went 15-13. The Rangers are in third place, and they went 12-16. The Angels have a 500 month of May. They go 14-14. And the Sacramento A's fall off big time. They go 7-21. Shout out the Sacramento A's, I guess we're calling them now. I know they just want to be the A's, but it feels like they need a city in front of them. That's my baseball hot take, I guess, for right now. Justin, what stands out to you there? Winners, losers, who was better than you thought? Who was worse than you thought?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to continue to bash on the Boston Red Sox, but the Boston Red Sox have not been good, and a lot of that's due to injuries. And the excitement that they can have is obviously two of your big three top prospects are up. Roman Anthony, as of now, is still not up. Could be up by the time this gets up to YouTube and all the other platforms that we do this on. But yeah, the Red Sox, I mean, they're 4-6 in their last 10. As you said, they didn't have the greatest month at all. But they did play the Braves to end the month and have kind of rebounded that way. And that's kind of what any team right now that plays the Atlanta Braves is doing. So if you need a team that needs a rebound, make sure you play us. Red Sox definitely one of my losers in the American League. But staying in that same division, I think the Tampa Bay Rays have surprised me a lot. And why do we doubt the Tampa Bay Rays? They're always the small budget team that is really more than money balling their way to be successful. The Tampa Bay Rays are back over 500. I don't think they're in a playoff contention race with how close the American League Central is with how close the American League West is, and then obviously the Yankees just kind of running away with the AL East. But just for the Blue Jays to get back over 500, 7-3 in their last 10, they're hitting the ball pretty well. They're pitching fairly well. They're just getting the job done in a ballpark that is not even theirs. So I got to shout out the Rays. And then obviously one kind of final true winner of this month, it's for in the American League at least, has got to be the Minnesota Twins. We've kind of talked about them, plugged to episode 1, where we talked about Byron Buxton and the Twins. But the Twins were scuffling. Rocco Baldelli could have been fired. But this team has really rattled off a bunch of wins lately. They're 4-6 in their last 10, so obviously under 500 in their last 10. But they've had a good month of May, a great month of May, and they've really put themselves within 7 of the Tigers. But the AL Central's basically the Tigers, and I think the Tigers are the class of the American League this year. They just keep getting better and better. But the Minnesota Twins have rebounded very nicely in the month of May. They got hot. And now can they push through the dog days of summer in June and July and stay in this race and see what happens come trade deadline? But for the American League, those are my 2 winners and a loser. Because obviously the Sacramento Athletics, easy choice. Angels are kind of sometimes regressing to what we know they should have been. And we're not going to kick the Orioles or White Sox while they're down. Because we know they're just going to be bad this year according to the pitching that the Orioles have.
Yeah, I mean, you're not, but I am. I didn't internalize how bad Baltimore's month was until I was looking at this yesterday. At 9-18, I knew it was bad. I did not internalize how bad it was, right? And that's with winning. I think they just swept the White Sox to end the month, so that got kind of inflated even from where it would have been.
Yeah.
I just didn't internalize how poorly it's going. I did, right? But until you see the record staring at you in the face, it just wasn't there for me. I think it's fair to call the Twins one of the best teams, one of the winners of the American League. I mean, everybody's chasing the Tigers, so the Twins are almost certainly going to be doing that for at least most of the rest of the year, if not the entire season. You have to figure at some point the Tigers have a 500 month, and maybe there they make up some ground, and maybe even take over if they stay this hot. But, I mean, a great turnaround, because they went 13-18 in late March and April. I mean, that's just one of the best turnaround stories this year, at least early, because I don't think... At least when we were talking about it early, we did not have faith at the end of April that this was going to be a good team, and now we're staring at a playoff Minnesota team, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. But again, like you talked about, at the end of June, if the Tigers were to have a 500 June, they already have a 6-game lead on the Guardians. They already have a 7-game lead on the Twins. I mean, the Twins and Guards have to play lights out baseball. Now the Twins have done that in the month of May, but I just keep seeing the Tigers get better and better any single time I watch them, and this team looks like the class of the American League.
Yeah, I agree. Their pitching is unbelievable out in Detroit.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the NL. Justin's favorite team, the New York Mets, are first place in the NL East. They went 15-12 this month. The Phillies are on top of the world. They went 19-9. Jeez, that is unbelievable. That's going to be one of my winners because I did not realize that. Spoiler alert for in 2 minutes. The Washington Nationals have squirmed their way into third place. They're 15-12 this month. The Atlanta Braves go 13-14 in the month of May. The Marlins bringing up the rear in the division. They went 11-15. The NL Central has some pretty banging teams at the top. The Cubs go 18-9. The Cardinals outdo them by a game. They went 19-8. The Brewers go 15-13, but they have won 7 in a row as we record this. The Reds go 13-15, and the Pirates go 10-18. And then out west, some interesting developments in a division that we thought was 4 teams deep. The Dodgers go 15-12. Kind of a down month for them, if we're honest. The Padres go 500 with 13 wins and losses. The Giants go one below 500. They go 13-14. The Diamondbacks take a big step back. They go 11-17. And the Rockies go 4-24. Justin, what stands out to you in the NL?
Yeah, so in the National League, I think there's two teams, or really three teams above anybody else that like separated themselves, and that is the St. Louis Cardinals going 19-8 in that month, similar to the Minnesota Twins, right? Like that we were kind of pushing them, discarding them off at one point. And then they go 19-8 in the month of May, and every conversation about Nolan Arenado being traded, every conversation about this team not being good, the offense not being there. Matthew Liberatore stepped up. This pitching staff has stepped up. Sonny Gray isn't the best he's been, and Eric Fetty isn't the best that he's been either. But this team they're winning games crazily. They're 19-8 in the month of May. Obviously, you got to, unfortunately, as a Braves fan here, you got to throw it out to the Philadelphia Phillies, 19-9. But I do not want to call them a winner because they've played like 3 series in a row against like the Marlins, Rockies, and Pirates or whatever it was. So with the team as good as what the Phillies are, they've got to do that. Obviously, they took 2 of 3 from Atlanta. Doesn't feel good for me, but that's the Phillies. That's kind of the 2025 Atlanta Braves. Stay tuned for my rant later if that happens. But I do think the Chicago Cubs are another huge winner in the National League at least this month. They're separating themselves in the NL Central. I mean, I know looking at the standings today, Cardinals are 4 games back, playing as well as they have, and that's still 4 games back of the Chicago Cubs. I mean, the Brewers are really, really hot right now, 8-2 in their last 10, won 7 straight. Brewers are really kind of getting hot. But I think the Chicago Cubs, especially here in the month of June, could really set this NL Central to bed and say, hey, like this is our division. No matter what you do, you're not catching us. Because the Cardinals inevitably fall off. Maybe, knock on wood. Maybe not. Maybe I've just made the Cardinals a World Series champion. But the Chicago Cubs, I think, have a very important June ahead of them, but still played very well this year, the month of May here, and are another winner because they have, even with the Cardinals being so hot, extended their lead in the division as well.
Yeah, I'll give you some backhanded optimism. Backhanded optimism, is that a term? It is now.
It is now.
Hit me up, Webster's Dictionary, I guess. The Braves month, honestly, not as bad as I thought. 13-14, it's not great, especially when you're looking at the top of the class being above 500. I mean, the Mets only went 15-12.
And we've lost like 6 or 7 games because of multiple different reasons that we shouldn't have lost games. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to... It feels bad, I think, because the ending of the month was so rocky. But up until about a week ago, you're sitting in a pretty good spot for the month of May. Obviously, the bad month, the bad ending kind of levels out the month a little bit. And months are kind of arbitrary, if we're honest, both in like a calendar sense, not to get super philosophical on you, but like in a baseball sense, it's just like, okay, 31 days pass. Let's see how the team did over that. Or some months are 30, because if you cut it a little bit differently, you're feeling maybe a little bit better about the month or a little bit worse. But I mean, it wasn't as bad a month as maybe it feels. Now they are 0-1 in June as we record this, so like cancel the season if we're honest. But
yeah, well,
I don't know. I think there's something there for the Braves as they go forward. It's not as bad as we thought, I think. It's not as bad as it feels.
It's not as bad as we thought, but I will say the alarming thing could maybe even be a backhanded compliment at the same time too. We, meaning the Atlanta Braves, have played the most one-run games in all of baseball. I think the number is like 27 or 28 games or something this year, because I think we're now, 10 and 17 or something in one-run games. So we have the most number of losses now in one-run games in all of the majors, which sucks to say. And a lot of these losses lately have been one-run losses or two-run losses. But at the same time, you've also been in every game that you've played in basically in the entire month, win or lose. And so that's where maybe my Braves pessimism, which typically I'm a very optimistic Braves fan, especially with the roster that we have. But yeah, it's becoming turmoil for me to see the same thing happen over and over again every single day, every single month for 2 years in a row. But I guess that's why Pirates fans are Pirates fans. So they just love it.
That's how baseball goes. You know what I'm saying? The Braves nine
Yep.
and 14 in one-run games, officially. I'll tell you the team that's killing it in one-run games randomly, and I could give you, I mean, 15 guesses because there's only 30 teams before you landed on this team. It's the Angels. The Angels are 9 and 4 in one-run games, and by percentage, that is the best. So kind of killing it right now. If we're the Angels, the Padres are
Washington.
11 and 5, it looks like. So also doing pretty good. I would like to read off to you the stat leaders
Okay.
for some of the hitting and the pitching. And we'll see if any of these guys are surprises to you of who holds them. uh, or whatever. Batting average. Freddie Freeman hit 410 this month. Ohtani hit 15 home runs. Rafael Devers had 33 RBIs by himself. They said put the glove away, and he was like, all right, I guess I'm just going to mash. Apparently, that was the thought. Chandler Simpson stole 16 bags, which feels notable since he just got sent down and got called up in the middle of the month. So that happened in like 2 weeks, which is kind of wild. Andrew
Insane.
Abbott leads the ERA race in the month. He had a 0.55. Framber Valdez threw 42 innings. Scooble had 59 strikeouts. Ryan Helsley led the league with 9 saves. Any of those names jump out to you?
I mean, obviously, Andrew Abbott leading an ERA is massive, especially concerning where the Cincinnati Reds are. They're similar to my Braves right now, where they're teetering on like, are we a playoff team? Are we going to truly compete? Are we not? And obviously, when you look at the rotation that they have in Cincinnati, obviously Hunter Green's down right now, but you still have Nick Lodolo, who has one of the nastiest curveballs or sliders, splitters, whatever it is that he throws in baseball. I mean, you've got some really good guys in that bullpen. You've got some really good guys in that rotation in Cincinnati, and the fact that Andrew Abbott, who's probably on paper their number 4, if not maybe their number 5,
Yeah.
is performing like a number 1 through the month of May. I think that's something very notable for a team that really needs his services right now. I mean, looking at the stats, I was looking at it earlier. He looks like he's I mean, knowing Andrew Abbott enough, he is a ground ball pitcher. He's not racking up a ton of strikeouts, but when I say he's not racking up a ton, he's still averaging a 9.09 K per 9 through the month of May. The BABIP is a little higher than I'd like it to be for the ERA being as low as it is, but he's got a good ground ball percentage. Not as high as like someone like Chris Bubich, but still significant. And strikes out a decent amount of guys. So Andrew Abbott, I think, would be the most surprising one on that list. But I'm also I'm a Braves fan, so I still love Freddie Freeman, even though he's on the enemy team now. So Freddie Freeman for average is never going to be something that I'm going to be surprised by.
Yeah, I'll give you, I think the biggest winner of the month player wise, for me at least, is Rafael Devers. Led the league in RBIs by 4. He had 33 of them. He hit 356. Dude is just mashing. He had a 199 WRC plus. That was good enough for 1.5 F war. 17.5%, like a walk percentage, is kind of nuts to me. He looks like he's just seeing the ball well right now. And especially through all the drama, because that was a big thing early in the season, like it or not, and kind of still is. By the way, I saw him taking ground balls today at short during batting practice. So shout out him, I guess, breaking the glove back out for funsies.
Yeah,
But
well, I have seen Matt Olson take shortstop ground ball when I was in DC last year, so maybe not. We can put a break, push the brakes on that one.
oh, I don't think he's playing shortstop. But it was funny to see it. No doubt. He looks like a guy that hasn't fielded a ground ball in a couple of months. Still a professional athlete. But I think he's one of the winners, if we're honest. Because, I mean, if you're going to be a full time DH, you'd better hit. And by golly, is he is he
He's
hitting
matched.
this month? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think with that, let's transition here to team of the month. Unless you've got any other winners or losers you want to shout out.
No, we're good. Let's get on to making our all MLB team of the month.
Yeah, this surely will be an Instagram graphic in about a day. So here's to that. I think that there is some obvious choices. There's some less obvious choices as we go through. We talked about this. We talked about doing an AL1 and an NL1. The thought of a draft crossed my mind. I think we're just going to do one team.
Yep.
And we'll just decide. And then you guys in the comments, let us know who we missed. Did we miss even mentioning anybody? Is there somebody else you would have chosen for a position? Let us know. I
Rate our
guess,
team too, 1 through 10. Rate it like
yeah,
10 perfect, 1 terrible, and
yeah,
we don't need to be GMs, and we don't even
un-
need to play MLB the Show. And
yeah.
plug Josh's new Pirate series if he's announced that or
It,
not.
it's coming soon. It's coming soon. Let's get through. I guess we'll start in the infield. We'll do pitchers last. That feels fair. Pitchers are like punters. They are people, but we're gonna do it at the end.
Pitchers
Shout
people.
out Pat McAfee, I guess, for the brand. But this is a baseball podcast, so back to baseball. Let's start with the real obvious one. It's obvious to me. I hope it's obvious to everybody else. There's really just two catchers in the NL to speak of. It was Cal Raleigh or Will Smith. Cal Raleigh in Seattle leads the league in home runs as we record this, like the whole major leagues. He's over Judge, he's over Ohtani. He is having one hell of a season, and he had one hell of a month. He had a 1.169 nice OPS. Hit 304, which is kind of shocking because he's not really an average guy, but he was seeing it well. Hit 12 homers, 26 RBIs. Just a monster month for Cal Raleigh. I think he would be my choice, but Will Smith would be second place. He had a 1.0 OPS. He hit 370 in significantly less plate appearances and at bats. He only had 2 home runs, 13 RBIs, 1.3 F4. Those are the two catchers really to speak of that should be in the conversation for player of the month. I think I'd go Cal Raleigh. Justin, who would you go with?
I've got to go Cal Raleigh. I mean, the only notable stat for me for Will Smith has got to be the 370 batting average. I mean,
Yeah.
the dude does typically hit for a fairly high average in catcher standards, and 370 through the month is pretty good stat. But yeah, Cal Raleigh, nobody's beating him. He's leading the league in in homers and all that. I mean, he's had an amazing month. He's had more plate appearances, more ABs. I mean, he's right now the best catcher in baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah, so there's two ways that we could go with this, and I guess potentially we'll go down both of the ways that I'm thinking right now. The first, I guess, Cal Raleigh, are we in any sort of realm of like he's a top 3 MVP candidate in the AL? I think I'm there personally because if you're thinking about just most valuable players to a team, he has got to be one of, if not the most important, because who knows where Seattle would be without that bat in the middle of the lineup, and also really good glove behind the plate. I don't know if I'm not ready to say MVP frontrunner, but I am kind of ready to say he should at least be in the conversation and on the like TV graphics while they're talking about MVP candidates. Where do you stand on?
I stand exactly where you're standing on it, but my only rebuttal and question to this is where was William Contreras last year with a similar season to what Cal Raleigh's put up? I personally think he deserves to be at least in the conversation, top three, top five for MVP voting, especially with this month of May. But at the same time, where was William Contreras in that voting last year in the National League MVP race? And that might tell you a lot of if Cal Raleigh truly stays in this or not. But I think I'm in agreement with you where he does deserve to be in that top three conversation for MVP.
Yeah, so I'll spit out some like hypotheticals here, I guess, because we're in the hypothetical game. It's our podcast. After all, we can be in whatever game we want. Uh, if Cal Raleigh ends with, I mean, he's on pace right now to hit 66 home runs. That feels not attainable. If he ends with even 45,
Yeah.
say 115 RBIs, wins a Gold Glove behind the plate, is that to me is an MVP season unless Judge hits like 60 or 65 and is killing it. Judge obviously is in
Yeah.
New York, so like the bigger market, I get that. But just from like a baseball standpoint, the value Raleigh adds to the Mariners, I think is higher than what Judge adds to the Yankees, which Yankees fans maybe will disagree with that, but they have other big bats in the lineup, whereas Seattle, it feels like they have Raleigh and they are riding it right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, if that's the final stat line, outside of Judge being a Yankee, if Judge hits anywhere close to 400 with 60 bombs, like the dude's on pace for what? I think like 72 or 73 or something I saw earlier today. So I think Aaron Judge is on a whole nother level. And it's kind of crazy that we're really not even talking about it. Like when Luis Ariz last year was flirting with 400 the whole way, we were like
Yeah.
hyping him up and everything, and now Judge is doing it, and we're just like, oh, well, we
You're like,
expect that. But
yeah.
to turn it back to Kyle Raleigh, like he's that's an MVP season. He deserves the MVP talk. But I think it's just one of those again, one of those unfortunate years where Aaron Judge is playing like Barry Bonds and hitting for average and all that. And yeah, I think it's almost already Judge's MVP. But Cal Raleigh definitely making it a conversation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch it down the stretch. The other direction I thought about going in the catcher realm, I think we are dangerously close, in my opinion at least, to getting to like where Will Smith is an underrated catcher. So I feel like for a long time we were like Will Smith is the catcher in the National League. This guy is the guy. There is no catcher better than Will Smith. And then over the past few years that's really just fizzled, and I don't know if that's he has fizzled or if that's like just fatigue of everybody just watching him be consistently good but not super flashy. He's just behind the plate and he is putting up numbers and logging games and they're all really good, but there's never like I can't remember the last time like on Twitter or Instagram I saw like an insane Will Smith clip that people were like, "Oh yeah, check out what Will Smith did last night." Whereas Cal Raleigh gets the benefit of like he's hitting home runs at an unbelievable level, and he has a cool nickname that Will Smith does not. So, are we at that point with Will Smith? Are you at that point? Do you feel the same way?
Well, so I think a great comparison to that is like 2 or 3 years ago with JT Romuto. Like he's so consistent, great behind the plate, great offensive catcher, at least he was. And so we got so accustomed to year in, year out, he shows up, he plays the 140, 150 games, he puts up the numbers that he does. And then you end up getting other people to come to the Philadelphia Phillies roster and with the Dodgers, like Will Smith is what the seventh or eighth best player on their team, and that's not bad to be the seventh or eighth best player on the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. So
Yeah.
you look at Will Smith being the seventh or eighth best guy in that lineup almost every night, and then he is Mr. Consistency. And you're like, okay, I know what production I'm going to get out of him, but he's also batting what sixth or seventh in the order. and he just gives you that production, and people kind of get used to, oh, okay, Will Smith, he's a big league catcher, but I don't feel like he's done anything big. But then you go look back at the numbers, like, man, dude's been like lights out. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, I think we're to the point where Will Smith is one of the most underrated catchers in baseball. No matter how much it pains me to say it as a Braves fan, he is. And unfortunately, like a lot of that, I think comes from how consistent he's been and how deep this Dodgers roster is.
that's true too. That is an angle that I did not think about. Is that on that team, he is really low on like people. When you turn on a Dodgers game, you're not turning it on for Will Smith. We'll put it that
Yeah.
way. You're
And
turning it on for Yamamoto or Freeman, as it turns out,
or
or
Otani or
Otani.
yeah.
There's other guys on the list
But see,
above.
that is why this is baseball adjacent. We have two adjacent minds,
Yep.
and I think of it another way that you don't.
Yeah, yeah. That's why there's a podcast here at this point in time. Let's move on to first base because I think we're both gonna have a Dodger winning the first base player of the month. I get trophy, post, flower thing. I will
Yeah,
come up
Freddie will
with
get his flowers.
what it is. Freddie Freeman, a 1.1 OPS. He hit 410. As we said, he led the entire major leagues in batting average. 43 hits in 1 month is just an unbelievable number, no matter how you cut that. And then he had 21 RBIs to boot. He is kind of in the middle of that Dodgers lineup that is just button up runs at this moment in time. That was good enough for 1.8 F4. Some other guys that felt notable. We talked about Ryan O'Hearn last week, but he had a pretty good month. He would win in almost any other month where Freddie Freeman was not doing this. He hit 365, 4 homers. Carlos Santana hit 316. He had one of the best walk rates in baseball. And then I wanted to shout out Jonathan Aranda from Tampa Bay. He has been a big part of them turning it on. We were talking about Tampa Bay earlier. He hit 341 this month, but just an 899 OPS. I say just an 899 OPS. That's still crazy, but compared to the guys in front of him, it's not as crazy. I got Freddie Freeman for the player of the month. I assume you do as well.
Yeah, I've got Freddie Freeman, but with Ryan O'Hearn being on my fantasy team and overtaking Yandy Diaz and a couple other first basemen I've got, my heart really wants to go Ryan O'Hearn, but Freddie's so great. His numbers are great, and he's the first team All MLB catcher, or excuse me, All MLB first baseman for me.
Yeah, we talked about Ryan O'Hearn last week, so we won't rehash it. If you want to, go watch the episode and the short and all that was posted. Carlos Santana still doing it. That dude walked with Moses on the earth during biblical times. He has shorts that are so high right now. He is
They
wearing,
get shorter every game. It feels like
dude.
it's
He's like
crazy.
he is 3 years away from wearing a thong over at first base. If we're honest, direction that it's
He took
going.
the Hunter Pence thing and put it on steroids. I don't even know if we could say that, but
Yeah.
he took the Hunter Pence look on steroids.
Oh, absolutely. And then Aranda's just mashing. Let's go over to second base here. This one's kind of a tight race. There's not really a runaway, so I'd love to hear uh, who you have. To me, there's four guys that kind of have separated themselves among the other second basemen in the league. The four I have are Lowe over in Tampa Bay. His highlights, he hit 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, had a 912 OPS. He led second baseman in F4, which feels notable, a 161 WRC plus. Ketel Marte led second base in home runs. He had 8, one more than Lowe. He's that switch hitter out in Arizona, another bright spot for a team that's kind of flailing right now. 12 RBIs in the month, of 151 WRC plus, which is 10 less than Lowe, but a slightly better OPS at a 932 OPS. Brendan Donovan just kind of rakes, is why he's here. He only hit the 1 home run, but he's got an 846 OPS, pretty high average. Clement out in Tampa Bay had the highest F WAR in the position, at a 1.3. A lot of that is for defensive reasons, as he hit 306 with an 818 OPS. Justin, who do you got at second base? It's pretty wide open. Feels like there's not a wrong choice, but it also feels like everybody's going to get mad at whoever we choose.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't feel like there's a wrong choice. So I'm going to be a homer here, and obviously there's no Atlanta Brave on the board here. So why am I a homer? Because I'm sticking with my fantasy team. I couldn't go Ryan O'Hearn, so I'm sticking with my fantasy team here. And it's maybe some recency bias as well, but Brandon Lowe, especially over the last 2 weeks, man, like the dude is swinging a bat on fire. I mean, Brandon Lowe is part of that Tampa Bay resurgence right now, and maybe there's a question on if he gets traded. Who knows? I hope he doesn't because he's swinging a good bat right now in Tampa. But 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, the 161 WRC plus. Love my man Ketel Marte over in Arizona. Always going to love him from a Diamondbacks franchise I did a long, long time ago on MLB The Show. Brendan Donovan obviously has like the Player of the Month card in MLB The Show. But San Diego Studios, you're wrong. Brandon Lowe should have the card. Had an amazing month of May, and he is my starting second baseman if it's my team for the All MLB month of May.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you. Brendan Donovan, I didn't have the batting average, but he's hitting 323. Uh, Pretty good. Not a lot of extra base hits, but he is hitting for average. Uh, I think I have two thoughts on Lowe. The first is there's never been a guy that has benefited more from playing in that stadium than Lowe, because suddenly it's like Yankee Stadium, but in Florida where it's a little warmer. The ball travels a bit more. I mean, he is taking advantage of it, if we're honest. So shout out him. Ketel Marte, I mean, I think you would feel a lot better about Marte if the Diamondbacks were good, which that's not his fault, but I think we would rate where he's at higher. If he was on a team that wasn't currently flailing right now, obviously Burns had the elbow thing pop up last weekend. The Nationals just kind of took it to him in Arizona to end the month. I I don't know. I think to me it's Low. I could definitely see an argument for Marte. Um, it's neck and neck, but I lean Low, and I think it's because the team in Tampa right now is just better than what it is out in Arizona. Whether or not that's good or bad, we can argue later, but that's just kind of where I'm at with it. I think it's close enough that you could argue me either way. So, for what that's worth. Let's slide over to third base. We got 4 again. Actually, we have a bunch. There's one I think that is separated once again, but there is a bunch. Jose Ramirez had a 1.85 OPS. He hit 386, 5 home runs, 14 RBIs. He had a 206 WRC plus. He had 38 hits. I mean, just an unbelievable month for him. Garcia out in Kansas City had a 940 OPS. He hit 349, pretty good, 15 RBIs, 1.3 F4. Machado had a pretty good month out in San Diego. He had a 954 OPS, a 340 average, a 171 WRC plus, 1.2 F4. We should note Max Muncy, probably not in the conversation, but did have the most RBIs for a third baseman. He had 26. And Caminero out in Tampa Bay once again had 24. So those are kind of the candidates in my estimation for third base. I think my guy is Jose Ramirez because he is better than the second place guy, who would be Garcia, in every single stat. So that feels like a good enough reason for me, I guess. What do you got?
Yeah, and my reason is the exact same. And again, sticking with my guys on my fantasy team. So as you guys are kind of seeing, my fantasy team's been on a hot one recently because I have Brandon Lowe and Jose Ramirez on my fantasy team.
There you go. Hey, Justin, what's your fantasy record right now?
We're 6-4. We started like
Okay.
the Atlanta Braves, and we've battled back.
You know what? I think I may also be 6-4. I'll have to check that later in the episode when I have when it's easier for me to look at. Uh, but yeah, I think Jose Ramirez, pretty clear third base, in my opinion, holding it down out there for a pretty decent Cleveland team. Let's go shortstop. There's two. We got Jack Wilson out in Oakland at 368. He has been a man on fire since coming up. He hit 368 this month at 975 OPS, a 180 WRC plus. He had 39 hits in the month. He had 4 home runs, 16 RBIs. He still is not really walking at all, but he also still is not really striking out at all. He's just a man possessed at the plate, a bright spot there for Sacramento. And then I got Jeremy Pena, the other AL West shortstop to note at this point. It's a 327 average and 898 OPS, a 157 WRC plus. He does have the edge in home runs. He's got 5 and 18 RBIs. To me, it's Wilson, not just because I like the young guy, but he's just better. He just is doing things that are Luis Arias like, but maybe with a little bit more pop. And I think that's always been the drawback on Arias is he doesn't hit homers. And Wilson at least has shown he's semi-capable of hitting some homers, at least accidentally. So to me, that's the player of the month. What do you got?
I got to agree. Jacob Wilson, it's just insane that he's putting up these numbers with a little bit of pop, with production, and not walking at all, really. But again, Luis Ariz like in not striking out at all either. Like, strikeout rate is extremely low, walk rate is extremely low, like I said. But 368 batting average, 4 home runs, and 15 RBIs for, unfortunately, an Athletics team that has fallen off. But Jacob Wilson, again, like I've said in the past, are one of the many players on this Athletics team that, minus your NBC sports broadcaster that doesn't make the games easier to watch, the players on the field are making this team at least fun to watch. And Jacob Wilson performing the way that he is, young guy, definitely all MLB for the month of May.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to see what he's doing as a rookie because he came out of the gates hot, and I think at least me, I was like, well, eventually this is going to cool off. He just came up, and you know when you call a rookie up and he just happens to be on one? And I was like, well, this will wear off in a week or two, and it'll regress back down because I didn't like the walk rate. I was like, he's not really walking. He's also not really striking out. So eventually the strikeouts will go up. That hasn't really happened. He just has kind of been good the whole time, which is wild. And I mean, if you're trying to hold on to guys, he feels like a good one to hold on to.
Yeah. I mean, you've got team control for a while, and to my knowledge, he's leading off their lineup too every night. So doing what he's doing, I think, sets the tone for good success for that Athletics offense. It's just, I think their pitching's kind of been letting them down.
Yeah, the lineup feels okay. Not to get super deep into A's talk, but there are some bright spots. If you get, I would say they're like maybe 2 players away from being pretty good. This month was pretty disappointing. They showed flashes in April of being a pretty competent baseball franchise, which hasn't happened since pre-COVID,
Yeah.
if we're honest.
Your
So
Matt Olson, Sean Murphy era.
yeah,
That
uh,
would happen.
I don't. It's there. I know that like if you're an A's fan, which there's not a lot of them anymore, I don't gather, but if you are, there's some excitement. You got some young guys. The offense is there. The pitching, once you figure it out from just a baseball on the field perspective, it's close. It's closer than you would think, I think would be a safe way to put it. Let's move to the outfield. We have a bunch. We're going to pick 3 because it's a baseball team. And you get 3 outfielders. I'm going to read off a bunch. I guess I'm just going to read off players and we'll just see how we do it as we go because this is going to be a lot of people for me just to monologue at. Maybe I'll read a couple and we'll pause. Aaron Judge, we'll start here. He feels like a lock. We're just going to lock that in. Aaron Judge is on
Aaron
the
Judge
team.
is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's read his stats. Not to just graze over it, but he's on the team. Don't be stupid about it. He hit 346 this month, so he actually had a down month average wise, which is super unfortunate. But you know, everybody's human. I guess Aaron Judge can only hit 350. He did have a 1.2 OPS, a 236 WRC plus. He hit 11 homers, 18 RBIs. He is leading the way for the Yankees. We talked about Cal Raleigh, but the Aaron Judge numbers are pretty good. That's going to be an interesting MVP race as we get down to it, I think. The rest of them, all of these are for 2 spots. That's the way this is going to work. We'll start in no particular order with PCA out in Chicago. He's got a 269 batting average and 888 OPS. He hit 9 home runs, had 20 RBIs, a 141 WRC plus. He's doing it at the plate. Not as much as Judge, but that's a pretty high bar. He's doing it in the field. I think that's kind of what separates PCA from some of the other guys on this list. You're going to look at just the offensive numbers and think, why is he here? Well, it's because he's playing a pretty elite, and some would say the best in baseball center field that you can play between his speed and his arm. Uh, I think that's important to take into account. Wood out in Washington has had one hell of a month. He hit 330 this month, a 1.014 OPS, a 177 WRC plus. He had 7 home runs, 23 RBIs, 6 stolen bags. Pretty good month for him. And it feels like the Washington outfield, let's sidebar on this for a minute, is finally kind of happening. Uh,
Yeah.
you got him, you got Dylan Cruz, CJ Abrams, notably, very famously, not an outfielder, but instead a gambling addict over there at shortstop. But he's kind of happening on the field. I mean, Washington's in a pretty reasonable spot. They're at least in a hopeful spot where you can look at it and now you can kind of dream in the future, where that hasn't been true since Soto left, I feel like. So, shout out Washington, I guess. They are kind of buried in the East, unfortunately, but
Well, they're better than the Braves as of June 2nd. So,
yeah. One day, your time will come, Washington. It'll come back around, and then we'll be here. And, you know, the Mets will fall off, the Phillies will fall off, the Braves will come back. It'll be you and the Braves again. The Marlins will still be the Marlins. And we're just there. Sorry, Marlins fans, you know it's true. By the way, Marlins Rockies this weekend is happening, or this week is happening. I saw a picture of the crowd for Game 1 tonight as we record this. There is like 20 people there. There might be more people paid to be at that game than who paid to be at that game.
well, hey, Major League Baseball, you got 2 NL East fans right here. We'd love to go do a baseball adjacent episode live from the Bottom Feeder Bowl.
Yeah, there you go. Hit us up in the next 24 hours
We'll
so
be
we
on a
can.
plane to Miami. I'll leave Georgia. I'll drive down to Miami. That's not that far. No, it's still a 12-hour drive. But
No, it's
I'll be
fine.
in Miami.
Overnight. To carry on, TJ Friedel in Cincinnati. What a sidebar that was. TJ Friedel hit 344 this month at 957 OPS. He had a 15.9% walk percentage. That is second amongst outfielders behind, of course, Juan Soto. Still is walking like there is no tomorrow. But TJ Friedel walking a bunch. He's getting on base so much. So that felt pretty notable. Barger out in Toronto. He has 12 extra base hits. He's hitting 292 and 887 OPS. He is also doing it out in the field out there. Taylor Ward for the Angels hit 10 home runs, 28 RBIs. I believe led all outfielders. He had a 940 OPS. And then Elliot Ramos. Speaking of fantasy teams, shout out my fantasy team for having this guy because he's hitting 347. He's got a 1.0 OPS, 6 home runs, 18 RBIs, 177 WRC plus. Other guys that didn't quite make it, Seiya Suzuki, obviously raking, kind of racking up the RBIs. Who do you got? Who are your other 2? Looking at this
So,
list.
so I'm gonna probably go against you. I'm keeping PCA off my list. I know it's
Okay.
crazy. So I'm going James Wood and TJ Friedel. I mean, we obviously talked about Jacob Wilson probably being a leadoff hitter based on what he's doing with the Athletics. But TJ Friedel's ability to get on base, especially what he's produced this month, has been terrific. I'm fine sticking him out in left field with Judge in right. And then James Wood being as amazing as he is in center field, still with that kind of speed, power threat. That's my outfield right there, and I'm perfectly fine with that one. I know PCA is great in the outfield, but so is Michael Harris, and Michael Harris can't hit a baseball to save his life. PCA is doing significantly better than that, but not as well as what I would get out of TJ Friedel and James Wood. So I'm going with the offense here.
Yeah, I guess we're going to disagree on one, but not on the guy that you think, maybe. Because I also don't have PCA in my outfield if I was to construct this. I'd have Judge. I think I'd keep James Wood because that's just an electric factory out there. Feels like I would want to give a nod to Wood. And then I would go Ramos, if I'm honest. Feels like he is like Friedel, but just like ever so slightly better at everything except walking. That dude has been on fire for San Francisco. And San Francisco kind of gets lost in the shuffle of like NL West teams because there was four of them for a minute. Now there's really three. Sorry, Arizona. It's been a tough episode for Arizona.
It
Uh,
has, but it's
but
okay.
they,
You'll get better. You play the Braves starting tomorrow. Like we said, we're the slump busters,
yeah,
so it's
there you
okay,
go.
D-backs fans.
Everybody needs a good slump buster, including people. If any sponsors out there want to tack on to the end of that, let us know.
I mean, if Reese McGuire has a company he would like to sponsor us, whatever, that's fine
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But I'd go Ramos. I think I don't. He just feels ever so slightly better than TJ Friedel at kind of everything except walking. The on base percentage for Friedel is higher, but Ramos is hitting more extra base hits, which to me is important. On like if you're gonna tie break and be real ticky tacky on who you're picking over who, which you kind of have to be in the outfield because there's so many that are the same. That to me, I weight a little bit higher than walking a little bit. So those would be my three, I think. Let us know in the comments. Who would you pick? I suppose. So we almost definitely didn't forget and are now editing this in post. Designated hitters. Uh there's
Designated
three.
hitters are people too, people.
Yeah, I was talking about pitchers being like punters. DHs are like kickers in a way that I'm gonna let you get to on your own. But there's really three. It's Shohei Ohtani, it's Rafael Devers, it's Kyle Schwarber. Ohtani has the home run number. He's got 15. Dude's on another world. But can't pick anybody else than Ohtani, right? But Devers has the RBI numbers, and he is walking at just unbelievable amounts. Kyle Schwarber is the hitter that's kind of sparking everything out in Philly. Those are the three DHs. Justin, who are you leaning?
Man, I mean, I think this one's essentially between Otani and Devers. I mean, Otani's got the home run and RBI numbers by a long shot. Or actually, no, hold on, no. I was looking
Just
at the
home
runs
runs.
scored. I was looking at runs scored.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Otani's leading by home runs, and Devers has him on RBIs. I mean, Devers has stolen a base. That actually kind of surprises me. But the walk rate significantly better for Devers. The K rate is significantly down for Devers. The BABIP is actually a 405 for Devers compared to a 292 for Otani. So honestly, you know what? What the heck? I'm gonna go Rafael Devers.
Oh, wow.
Home runs don't mean anything in today's universe because everybody hits them. So give me Rafael Devers. You sold me on the hype earlier today, Josh. I'm going Rafi Devers for my DH pick.
Okay. Devers also leads Ohtani by 50 points in batting average, more or less. He's hitting 356. Ohtani's hitting 309. Kind of crazy. Ohtani, by the way, only 2 stolen bases. I mean, dude has fallen off. I send him to the retirement home immediately because what are we doing? I guess he remembered he's a pitcher and can't really steal things.
He
Uh,
turned PO now.
yeah, exactly.
PO that just hits bombs.
Dude, yeah, he's like that one LSU pitcher back in that regional like 7 years ago. I think he just got called up to like double A or something I saw on Twitter. Doesn't matter. I think for the sake of argument, I'll go Shohei Ohtani because I do think it is closer than people give it credit for. I think Ohtani's like the close your eyes, it's the blind pick. That's who you would pick without thinking twice. I do think Devers has made it interesting. No question. He's made it closer than people would maybe recognize. But I do think one of us has to pick Ohtani. So I will, lay on that sword and just die on the Ohtani hill, which what a hill to die on, by the way, going out in a blaze of glory. But I do think, to be fair, it's a lot like the Cal Raleigh Aaron Judge conversation we were having earlier.
Yep.
It's closer than what people would think it is. Like just because you kind of just hear the name and you're like, oh, that's the guy. But then you look at the numbers and it's kind of closer than you would maybe think at first glance, at least. Am I reading that wrong?
No, I think you're reading it exactly right. I mean, Devers is extremely close to Otani in terms of these numbers, at least through the month of May. And obviously, I think an even greater conversation would be if he was sitting where like Kyle Schwarber's home run number is. So, like if he was double
Yeah.
digits at 10 compared to Otani's 15. But I mean, you look at production from the plate from Rafi. I mean, a 17.5 walk rate compared to 13.3 from Otani. So he's getting on base more. He's being more productive in ABs. Better batting average. Again, more productive in his 8Bs. More RBIs. Better in clutcher situations, or at least driving in more runs.
Yep.
Even though Otani has 15 home runs, Devers has half the number, but more RBIs by a significant margin for 1 month. His BABIP, batted average in balls in play, is significantly better. It's 100 points better. Yeah, the isolated power numbers, Otani's beating him, but obviously he's hitting 15 home runs. So, of course, the isolated power numbers are going to be better. So, I mean, I just look at production offensively, and Devers is getting on base more, striking out less, creating more runs. And the home runs aren't Otani's home run numbers, but in almost every other category, Devers is better. And that's why I'm picking Devers.
Yeah, I think here's where I'll push back in the Otani camp. Uh, the OPS is higher by a full point, basically. We're looking at a 1.0 for Devers, a 1.1 for Otani. That's not nothing. We talked about earlier splitting hairs, trying to pick
Yep.
who's the guy. That's an important one. I think, especially on the you're a designated hitter. Obviously, neither one at this moment in time is doing anything on the field um, in a productive baseball game. Otani is throwing off a mound, two hitters. Devers again is taking ground balls at short. Shout out him. But I think when you're splitting hairs, I do think for designated hitters, and maybe this is an old school way to look at it, but that extra point just kind of means something to me. The RBI numbers are more there for Devers. I would say maybe that's because Otani's hitting like leadoff most nights, and he's tasked with driving in 7, 8, 9 versus Devers hitting in the middle of an order that he's
That
driving
is true.
in Duran and the top of all of that.
Well,
The
I'm
home
very
run,
Oakland Athletics like, and I'll use the quote. Why do I like Devers? Because he gets on base.
he does. He does. He just gets on base. A 468 on base percentage this month is a wild number for Devers, by the way. I think it's just closer. I think it's closer than people give it credit for. I lean Otani. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
And now, seamlessly,
It's a great argument, great conversation. So you guys in the comment sections, in the comment section, let us know in the comment section, excuse me, what you guys think and who you would choose for your DH, because we've been debating this whole time, like it's close. It's a lot closer than what people think.
Yeah. And now, seamlessly, like this never even happened, we'll go to the original recording and you're going to watch pictures, I think. But maybe it'd have to be pictures. Probably. We'll see. You'll know before I know. Actually, that's not true because I'm editing it. Doesn't matter. Let's go down to pitchers. Wrap up the episode. Maybe a couple of fun stats at the end. We're going to start with starting pitchers. I have 6. We're going to pick 1 because that's how we're going to do it.
This is Game 7 of the World Series. We got our Game 7 starting pitcher. That's what we're going with.
Yeah. The first one, Scooble out in Detroit. We've talked about him a bunch. He threw that Maddox a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't know how long it'll be when you're watching this realistically because you could be watching this at any point in the future. But he threw a Maddox at some point. He had a 2.2 ERA, 41 innings pitched, 59 strikeouts, by far led the league. That is a 40.4% strikeout percentage. Started 6 games, had that one shutout, 2 walks in 41 innings. He had a 155 batting average against. Robbie Ray out in San Francisco. That team just here again. 138 ERA. He had 39 innings pitched, 45 strikeouts, 6 quality starts in 6 starts. Shout out him, getting it done every time. A 169 batting average against. Justin's favorite, Chris Sale, the sidewinding lefty, finding his youth once again. He had a 1.11 ERA over 32.1 innings. That's basically 1 start less than what Ray and Scooble had, as he only had 5 starts to their 6. But he did have 40 strikeouts, a 207 batting average against. And then we get to the ERA Kings, who are worth noting. This is Abbott led the league in ERA for the month. Justin was talking about him earlier. He had an 0.55 ERA. That is the equivalent of 2 earned runs over 32.2 innings pitched. He had 6 starts, 33 strikeouts. And Bubich out in Kansas City had essentially the exact same month, but 1 less out was recorded. He had a 0.56 ERA. He went 32 and 1/3 versus Abbott's 32 and 2/3. He also only allowed 2 earned runs and also had 33 strikeouts, which is wild, by the way. And then Bailey Falter, I wanted to shout him out because he has sub 1 ERA, 0.76 ERA. Actually had a start against San Diego on the last day of the month that lowered that to get to sub 1. He only had 19 strikeouts. That's 3 earned runs over 35 and 2/3 innings. Justin, who's your starting pitcher?
Well, it's hard to not pick Tariq Skubal, but I'm going to go against it for the sake of having argument on the podcast. I'm doing it. Braves fan bias, Chris Sale. Give me Chris Sale. I know I was hyping up Andrew Abbott before. Obviously, if we're talking Game 7, I mean, he's 6 for 6 in quality starts, sub 1 ERA, so ground ball pitcher. It's decent amount of strikeouts, 1 strikeout per inning pitched here. But no, Chris Sale has completely returned back the clock. And then just note on Sale as well, his final strikeout of the game that he last pitched earlier this week was strikeout number 2,500 on his career. One of only 40 other pitchers have done that. So congratulations, Chris Sale on that. But a 207 batting average against, obviously a little worse than Tariq Skubal. But also 1 less start to lower that and to add to the strikeouts. The velocity was back. The slider was looking amazing. And yeah, he's ballooned ERA to 101 or 111 there. But some of that's kind of been some Austin Riley errors that have been counted as base hits in that game that kind of ballooned on him as well. But I'm going my Atlanta bias when I can. So Chris Sale, you can go and log off all you NL East haters. I'm going Chris Sale for my starting pitcher for the month of May.
That's fair. I guess that I am going to go Scooble. A, because it's the easiest one to argue for. B, because he's the name. Feels like we're kind of going in the direction of he's going to win another Cy Young,
Yep.
go back to back, which doesn't happen a ton. It happens some, but it is worth noting. It feels like, as far as like complete package goes off the mound, he's there. He has everything
He
that
is.
you'd want. He has the velocity, he has the strikeout numbers. I mean, he walked two people in 41 innings, which is an unbelievable number if we're honest. And that is something maybe you would expect from a guy that's like lobbing it up there at 89 or 90 miles an hour, that's working on movement and trying to catch corners. This guy's throwing it 103 miles an hour from the left side. It's hard not to love Scooble there. I think he's my pitcher of the month, but Andrew Abbott would probably be second place because he's got the ERA, and for better or worse, that does attract eyes. Uh, you'll notice we did not include win and loss record because that's not a pitcher stat. Shout out Justin. So let us
Yeah.
know if you agree or disagree in the comment section down below. We got one more position. It's relievers, and this is the most wheels off one, which is why we're keeping it to the end. I have three. Really, I have two, and they're both twins. It's Yohan Duran. He had an 0.60 ERA. That's one earned run over 15 innings. He went 7 for 7 in save opportunities. Also went 4-1 in not
Not a
save
pitcher stat.
opportunities. Not a pitching stat, is worth noting. He came in 15 games, and in at least 11 of them, they wound up winning. And also, his one earned run turned into a loss. So lock it in, Twins. Uh, Griffin Jacks, the other one, he had 14 games. He had 21 strikeouts in that, 7 holds, a 132 ERA. I mean, there's so many. We could be reading pages of relievers for hours. Those are the two that stood out to me. I would lean Duran, if we're honest. I know Helsley led the league in saves. He had 9, but the numbers just weren't as impressive. Where do you stand, Justin?
Yeah, I've got to go Duran because technically, if we go Duran, then you technically have Jax as the eighth inning guy anyway, as a technicality. But no, I mean saves are more important, and he's only given up one earned run, which ended up being the loss. And typically with closers, that's gonna be the case if you give up one run. And with Rodriguez, no shade to Rodriguez, but he's a middle reliever that's in mid to low leverage situations for the Giants. So Duran getting the saves, not giving up earned runs, striking people out, throwing velocity with movement. You got to go Duran for the month of May.
Yeah, I didn't even read Rodriguez here. He had a 0 ERA. This is for the Giants. 0 ERA, 20 strikeouts over 12 games, but again, a middle reliever. I think he had 4 holds, but he's just not in those high leverage spots, which I think, and I think this is a fair assessment by me, is important when you're deciding reliever of the month. If you're just going to pick a random, like, long reliever or whatever, there's a bunch of those that are probably putting up great numbers, but to do it in the ninth inning or eighth inning
Scott Lewis.
is a little bit different, in my opinion. So that's your team of the month. That'll be a graphic over on Instagram probably, and you can go argue over there. Probably would be the best way to do it. That is baseball adjacent on Instagram. Justin, we're right at an hour. I know you got a Michael Harris stat to run at me. I got an Ellie De La Cruz stat to run at you before we finish the episode here. Why don't you hit me with the Michael Harris stat?
Yeah, so I'll turn it into a Braves rant real quick. So obviously it is June 2nd, 2025 as we recorded this. And you guys are seeing it on June 3rd or whenever you decide to click on the channel and take a look at it. But the Braves have made some moves. Matt Tuiasosopo has been fired but rehired in the organization. He was our third base coach, former major league player with one of the best last names ever in baseball history, in my opinion. but was not a good third base coach, unfortunately. But the team believes that he very well could be a manager material at some point. The Braves love promoting from within, so they've let him go as the third base coach. Brought in former manager that was replaced by Brian Snitker, Freddie Gonzalez. To be the third base coach. I hate the move, if you want to know my opinion, if we're being honest here. And I do not think Freddie Gonzalez is the next manager of the Atlanta Braves again. Yeah, I think it's still going to be someone else like a Walt Weiss or heck, maybe even Tuiasa Sopo, who's now doing minor league infield stuff now. But I use that to say Michael Harris this season has been a clutch merchant, is what I'm going to call. So the stats I've got here for Mr. Michael Harris, who, if by the way you did not know, I actually played against Michael in high school. He went to Stockbridge High School, about 10, 15 minutes down the road from where I live. And obviously he's 3 years younger than me. So when I was a junior and senior, when I was a senior, I was playing him as a freshman. But
Did you strike him out?
I did actually.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I did. But then he also did rob a homer of mine. So look at what he's done in Philadelphia, and I understand what like these Philadelphia batters are getting because he's robbed a homer of mine as well. And now I cheer him on from the stands in my A-list seats. All right, but anyway, so Michael Harrison low leverage situations. His WRC plus is a 25. There is no number in front of that. That is a 2, and that is a 5. 25. Absolutely terrible. His medium leverage situations in WRC plus is a 64. So not great, but better than 25. And then, as you've heard me rant about on this podcast, in whatever Braves talk we do have, the Atlanta Braves cannot hit with runners in scoring position. But we, I guess, need to clone Michael Harris for those situations this season, because Michael Harris, in high leverage situations, I believe it's 4 or 5 at bats with bases loaded this season already for Michael, and at least runners on second and third for other situations. He is batting. Or not batting. He's got a WRC plus of a 139 with high leverage situations, late in games, team down by 2, bases loaded, 3 RBI triple. I've seen some other things this year out of Michael like that. So Michael Harris, love you to death, bud. Was fortunate to play 1 year of baseball against you, and you are basically Andrew Jones out in the outfield. But the offense needs to step it up. But you're a clutch merchant, and I'm glad to have you on the roster. So that is my Michael Harris and Atlanta Braves news. And let's just hope we get back on track and sweep the Diamondbacks. But as I've mentioned earlier, we are the slump buster team for what seems to be everybody. So not looking forward to this Arizona Diamondback series other than Wednesday night, where I will be getting a Truist Park replica giveaway. So I'm interested to see what that looks like.
Yeah, maybe just put him in more clutch situations. That is what I have to say to that.
Well, he bats 7th or 8th in the lineup. Hard to do that one.
Well, yeah. Viewers, you just seen me look at the roof during all of that, or the ceiling, I guess. Ceiling's inside. Also, sidebar, to that sidebar, why is it called the roof of your mouth? It should definitely be the ceiling of your mouth. Doesn't matter. But a spider just like rappelled down just off screen. So that's what I was dealing with during that entire thing. Let me give you an Ellie De La Cruz stat to end the episode here. And maybe some food for thought, Ellie, if you ever see this. This is from Hagen Snell on Twitter, X, whatever it is now. Elon's favorite website. We got Ellie De La Cruz versus lefties, and then Ellie De La Cruz versus righties, and those are 2 very different players. Ellie De La Cruz is a switch hitter. As a right-handed hitter against left-handed pitching, he is terrible. He is basically Michael Harris in medium leverage situations. From what Justin has just said, he's got a 44 WRC plus, which I guess is slightly worse than Harris, to be fair to Harris. He's hitting 195. He strikes out about 30% of the time. He only walks about 7.2% of the time. looking at it on Fangraphs, also his chase rate is pretty high. But as a left-handed hitter against right-handed pitching, he's got a 141 WRC plus. He's hitting 288. He's got an 899 OPS. He strikes out less. He walks more. We've talked about this with Albies, maybe just hitting from one side of the plate. And I know switch hitters are reluctant to do that because maybe it restricts what you can do in the lineup or command in free agency or whatever. But if you're just flat better, and it doesn't seem like it's like a small increment better. It is night and day for Elly De La Cruz at this point in time for this season. Is that something that you would maybe consider if you were Elly De La Cruz?
Yeah, now I'm not looking at the stats, and I haven't seen that in terms of what splits are. Obviously, with the switch hitter, you always want to have the opposite-handed hitting to the opposite-handed pitcher. So obviously, right-handed pitcher, left-handed bat, and vice versa. So I'm not 100% sure on what his splits hitting lefty-lefty would be. But at the end of the day, if the stats say Elly is better hitting left-handed against right-handed pitching and terrible the other way around, I would love to see how his left-handed eye picks up left-handed pitching and see if that is the case, or maybe he just can't track left-handed pitching to save his life. And it's at least the conversation that I think the Cincinnati Reds would need to have for maybe a week or two to figure out if he can get it going in practice or in batting practice and other kind of training module stuff outside of the games. But either way, I think Elly De La Cruz is very dynamic. He'll probably get it right. He'll probably be really hot from the opposite-handed side of the plate at some point, and these numbers will average out because baseball is a game of averages at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So the bigger the sample size, the more likely he'll regress to the mean, which for someone like Elly De La Cruz would be improving on that very low 44 WRC plus.
Yeah, I will say, looking at it for his career, he's a 59 WRC plus hitter from as a righty. And he's now deep enough in his career where that's like a tangible sample size.
Yeah.
My thought is sometimes you just slump from one side. It's hard as a switch hitter because you got to take swings from the left side, from the right side. If you're a natural left-handed hitter, that might just be easier to snap out of versus if you learned how to hit righty, it would be harder, I think, to snap out of it. We've seen guys just slump from one side of the plate and switch to only hitting to one side for a week or two and then go back to it and they're kind of fine. We've also seen guys from injury. I'll point to Jonah Heim at some point in the last couple of years. Came back from a thumb injury, I believe. He's the Rangers catcher. And just hit right-handed, I believe, because left-handed wasn't feasible. We've also seen that some with like oblique injuries, I feel like, over the years. So it's not the most unheard of thing for a switch hitter to just hit from one side. I think it would be interesting to see it. I feel like that's more of maybe a live BP thing than an in-game thing, at least at this point in time. But also, I have a hard time believing it would be a lot worse lefty-lefty than it is right now righty-lefty. So, I don't know. Some food for thought. Reds fans, because I'm sure this will be a short, let us know down in the comments. What do you think? I believe, Justin, that's all we got. We're an hour 10 into this.
Yeah, well, other breaking news, as reported by Braves media, so other Braves news here. Marcell Ozuna has apparently been playing through a hip tear and will continue to play through a hip tear the rest of the season and will need to get to the offseason to have it surgically operated on as he is an upcoming free agent, according to Alex Anthopoulos' announcement and press conference today during the Matt Tuiasosopo firing announcement. So, great news to end it off.
All things happening well out in Atlanta. I'll give you one more.
Comment Big Bear in the comments.
Yeah, I'll give you one more. Maybe some happier news, unless you're a Red Sox fan, because this just happened tonight as we record this. The Angels are the first visiting team in Fenway Park history to hit 3 home runs in the first inning of a game. So that ballpark's like 100 plus years old, and the fact that that's the first time that's ever happened
Pretty
feels
impressive.
notable. So there you go. That's all we got. Justin, give them a random player to comment if they made it to the end of the episode, and we'll pin them.
So if you made it to the end of our latest baseball adjacent episode, make sure you comment Pablo Lopez, the starting pitcher from the Minnesota Twins, who is very hot right now. Comment Pablo Lopez, and we'll heart your comment and get you sorted with some good stuff. So
All the good stuff.
make sure you go
Justin, you want to
like,
describe
comment,
what that
subscribe,
good
all that good
stuff
stuff.
is?
What?
You want to describe what that good stuff is that we're getting them sorted with?
I don't know. You could figure that out at Reese McGuire's Pancake Shop for
Oh, yeah.
YouTube purposes.
Well, on that note, uh, Justin's jacking it evidently. We're packing it. We'll catch you all next week on the next episode of Baseball Adjacent. Take it easy. Good Lord.